Welcome to this session. My name is Barbara Gochalia. Today in our class, we shall be looking at competitiveness, strategy, and production. And this will be our chapter overview. In this particular session, we shall be looking at different ways companies compete and why some firms do a very good job for competing. Then we shall also be able at the end of this lesson to know how effective strategies can lead to competitive organizations. And then we shall also be able to learn what productivity is, why it is important, and why what organizations can do to improve it. So let's look at competitiveness. Competitiveness comes from competition, right? And we are going to look at a number of strategies that companies use to compete in the market, basically. So marketing is one function that determines or that affects the competitiveness of any organization. And how does it influence competitiveness? First of all, marketing helps in identifying consumer needs and wants, right? So before organizations even begin to think about competitiveness, they must know the wants and needs of their customers such that they make effective decisions in their processes. Then also with the marketing determines the price, right? The price and the quality. Of course, when you are marketing, we are going to realize that one of the strategies of one of the competitive strategies that firms use is a low cost. It could either be low cost, low prices, for example, and quality. So you can market by using that strategy of reducing the prices or by providing quality products. So that in itself can make you be to have competitiveness, to be better than your other rival firms or competitors in the market. Then also marketing helps in advertising and promotions, right? Of course, with advertising, if one organization is advertising, another one is not doing so. Assuming other factors are constant, we expect it to be better than the other one, right? Because advertising and promotions, of course, there is a way they attract customers, right? So if you're not advertising, but your competitors are advertising, what do you expect? At the end of the day, they may win more customers than you do have. All right. So that was marketing, how it affects competitiveness. Let's look at operation, how it affects competitiveness. With operation, we are basically looking at the internal activities of an organization, the production process, the product and service design, right? The cost of production, cost of producing those goods and services, the quality of the product, the location, the response time or the lead time. In other words, we looked at lead time, the time it takes, for example, when a customer makes an order and when that product is delivered to that customer. Of course, the shorter the time, the better, and the longer it takes, the worse, right? So all these these operations in terms of inventory management, supply chain management, all those ones, flexibility, for example, in terms of customer wants, in terms of changes in customer demand, all those ones are internal operations that affect the competitiveness either of an organization, either positively or negatively, right? So Product and service design, of course, the way your product is designed, the way it's packaged, has a lot to do with the way it will compete with other competitors in the market. We looked at cost of production, right? Of course, if you have low cost of production, at the end of the day, the price will be lower. It could be lower than your competitors, and of course, keeping other factors constant, you may attract more customers than your competitors. Location, location is very important in terms of competitiveness with your rival firms. You may find that your business, for example, is located maybe in the city center, where customers feel that it takes a shorter distance and it's convenient enough for them maybe to just drop in, do the shopping, and then leave, right? Rather than if your business is located maybe in the village, whereby, or in a further area where they need to put in more transportation costs to do the shopping, right? So location has a lot in terms of determining your competitiveness with your rival firms. And then also quality. This quality is not only on products, but also in terms of products produced or material used in the production process, but also in terms of the human resource skills that your workers, the workers of an organization, do possess. Of course, if they are well trained, they have the appropriate human resource skills, then at the end of the day, it will determine the quality of product. Of course, now, if you're using them in the production process, at the end of the day, it will determine the quality of the product, right? Or the service, depending on the kind of business that it is. Then we are looking at production, how it influences competitiveness. Then, of course, we are looking now at production. We'll look at the internal activities of the organization. And then the quick response rate, that one practically looks at the lead time. I believe we now know what lead time is, right? Lead time, that one should be at our fingertips. So the quick response rate, of course, for example, the shorter it takes for an organization to respond to customer complaints, of course, the better. The longer it takes for them to respond to customer complaints, the worse. Of course, if you respond quickly and faster compared to your competitors or the other rival firms, it will give you competitiveness over them, right? It will make you better than them, right? Or to outstand from your competitors. Then flexibility. Here, flexibility could be in many ways, in terms of flexibility in the change of the volume of demand by customers. You could find that the demand of customers could either increase or reduce. So you should be able to, as an organization, you should be able to adjust, for example, output produced, where if the demand increases, you have to increase output. If the demand reduces, you have to be able to adjust and reduce the output. It could be flexibility in terms of technology, right? In terms of if technology is changing, you should also be able to change to comply to the changing technology, or to acquire technological skills if it's required by your employees, right? And then also it could be flexibility in terms of changing from one product to another, right? Then inventory management. All these are functions of production, right? All these are functions of production, or the scope of production and operations management. And if you have realized, all these ones are topics in themselves, that some of them we have looked at them. Inventory management also, if you're able to, as an organization, if you're able to manage your inventory. Remember, we saw that inventory means can be involves raw material, it can raw materials, the work in progress, and then also the stock. Yeah, so it's a combination of all those. So if as an organization you're able to manage your inventory, then that makes you grants you a competitive advantage over the other rival farms in the other similar farms or rival farms in the industry. Remember, we looked at the just-in-time techniques, right? Where we saw that one of the elements of the just-in-time techniques is inventory management, whereby it aims at reducing inventory to avoid inventory cushioning, right? Because if you're having to excess inventory than what is required, at the end of the day, some of it may expire, so you'll be making losses. So inventory management is also, if you manage it properly, it makes you to outcompete the other rival farms. Supply chain management, we looked at that in our previous class, right? And where we saw that supply chain management practically looks at all those activities, right? Right from the time, right from the time of supplier, and then raw material input being converted into output, and then of course now to the external processes, where we look at the distributors, where we look at the customers, right? So all those activities at the end of the day they help us to meet to match demand and supply. So if that is if the supply chain is managed very well, it can make you as an organization to outcompete the rival firms. Then service. The service can be in terms of after-sale services. For example, when a customer purchases, it could be equipment, right? It could be maybe a machine, it could be maybe a computer, maybe a laptop, right? And maybe after some time it breaks down. You could tell them that if it breaks down, maybe within this stipulated period of time, maybe 6 months, you can bring it. You can even tell them that as long as it breaks down, bring it, we shall repair it for free of charge. So that is one way. That one can make you have competitive advantage over your other rival firms that they may charge this client in case that machine breaks down, and for you, you're not charging, you're doing free after sale service. All right, so it may grant you competitive advantage. Then another way operations, production affects competitiveness is through management, managers and workers. So management, remember, we also look when we're looking at the just-in-time techniques. Yeah, we saw that the just-in-time techniques were a subset. They are a subset of the lean operation, and we saw that under just-in-time it also involves management, right? It involves the management supporting the workers, right? So management has a lot to do. Assistance from management, right, or support from management has a lot to do with the determining competitiveness over the rival firms. So if management is not at the forefront of maybe supporting workers, supporting all those strategies that we are going to look at that actually bring about competitiveness, then at the end of the day, the results might not be good in terms of having a competitive advantage over your competitors or rival firms. So let's look at reasons why some organizations fail, right? Why do some organizations fail? Number one, they neglect operation strategy. And the operation strategy we've looked at, of course, we are looking at internal functions, right? That you've already looked at, for example, quality, for example, the human resource skills of your workers, management support, right? After sales services, right? All those ones, they affect, if you do not take them as priority, then the organization may fail. Then also, if organizations fail to take advantage of their strengths and opportunities, right? And also failing to recognize their competitive threats, right? So we are going to look at what the strengths. The strengths are practically what makes you to stand out. What makes you to stand out from the crowd in a comparison to other competing firms in the same industry, right? So that would be your strength. What you have, what is that good skill, right? That you have that makes you to stand out in comparison to other competing firms in the same industry. Then opportunity can be opportunities that those factors that actually make you to, opportunities are actually external, they are external factors that actually make you to, for example, to venture in business, to be able to succeed. For example, it could be that the political environment is okay, right, for you to continue with business. So that can be an opportunity that you have to utilize, right? And then competitive threats, of course, the threats come from your competitors. You could find that maybe they are advertising, right? So if, for example, they are advertising and for you not advertising, then you may fail. Of course, we've seen that when we've been looking at how marketing affects competitiveness, right? All right, then putting too much emphasis on short-term financial performance at the expense of research and development. So if a firm is not really venturing in research and development, it could be one reason why it may fail. That's if other firms are doing the research and development, but for you, you're not doing so. Then placing too much emphasis on product and service design and not enough on process design and improvement. So you may just, as an organization may just focus on the product and service design, right? How is the product, how is it packaged? What are its features, right? But the process is like the method, the processes, the methods that are used. How do we obtain that product? How is the production process like, right? So, and failing to put the process design in consideration and its improvement might lead to some firms failing. Then if these companies neglect investing in capital and human resources. So investing in capital resources means investing in, in fixed assets, for example, investing in machinery, investing in equipment, right? So if these firms do not invest, that might be, they may end up failing. If also they do not invest in human resources here, we are looking at the employees, right? So investing in employees could be in terms of capacity building, could be in terms of sponsoring them for training and development to be able to acquire skills that are needed, that are appropriate for the production process, which at the end of the day will improve the quality of your products and services. Then also failing to establish good internal communications and cooperations among different functional areas. So communication is important in any organization. Communication is key. So if the communication is not effective among different departments, then at the end of the day, you're not going to achieve the overall goal for that organization. And at the end of the day, the company may fail just simply because of poor communication between the different functional areas or department within an organization. And then also failing to consider customer wants and needs. We saw that when we were beginning our class, we saw that the one way marketing affects competitiveness is that marketing allows organizations to be able to determine the wants and needs of their customers. So if an organization cannot determine the needs and wants of customers, then what is it that it's focusing at? Because at the end of the day, the overall satisfying the needs of your customers should be your overall objective. Because if their needs are not met, then you will not get, you will not be able to, you will lose out in terms of profit, right? In terms of sales. So failing to consider customer wants can also make these companies to fail. So such simple basics or simple reasons can make these companies to fail. All right. So let's look at mission and strategies. Mission and strategy. So what is a mission? A mission is the reason why an organization is existing. What is the reason? Why is the organization existing? That is a mission, right? And what is a strategy? We are going to see all what it means. But first of all, let's look at a mission. A mission is the reason why an organization is existing, right? So for example, let's look at some of the mission statements for some of these companies, some of the mission statements. For example, there is a mission statement here for a company known as Microsoft. I believe all of us know it. Microsoft, this is a technology, it's an IT company or organization. Its mission says that to help people and businesses throughout the world to realize their full potential, right? So it is the reason this company exists. So a mission should provide information why the company is existing, why the organization is existing. That is a mission. That is a mission. And then another mission statement is for that company known as Nike, which deals too much in sports, sports products, or sports items. So it has a mission statement which says to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. To bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So that is the reason why these organizations exist. So a mission is the reason why an organization exists, right? So actually it serves for an organization goal. What is the goal for that organization, right? So of course, in brief, you can look at it as what should be the destination of an organization. What is it focusing to achieve in the long run? Its destination, that is a goal, right? So some people confuse a goal and an objective. The difference between the two is an objective is short term, but a goal is long term, right? So let's look at a number of business strategies. There are basically 3 basic business strategies. These are low cost, responsiveness, and differentiation from competitors. So those 3 basic business strategies are used by businesses, right? So in terms of, let's first look at what a strategy is, right? So a strategy, if we are looking at in terms of destination, a goal, in terms of destination, a goal will be a destination, right? But a strategy would be a roadmap. If we are looking at it in that perspective, a strategy will be a roadmap to towards the destination. I hope that is clear. So if we are looking at them in terms of a destination and roadmap, the goal is a destination. A strategy is that roadmap that will lead you to, that will lead this company to its destination, right? Then tactics. Tactics are those actions that should be undertaken to be able to make the strategy, to accomplish the strategy. So those actions that are that should be taken to be able to attain this strategy, right? Remember, a strategy is a roadmap to your organization goal. Your organization goal is your destination, right? So let's look at a diagram, a hierarchical diagram here that can help us to understand these concepts. So above here, above this diagram, we have on top, at the top of this diagram, we have a mission. And we've already seen that a mission is the reason, is that reason an organization exists, right? Then that one will direct us to an organization goal. An organization goal is your destination, where you want to be, where you want to end up, right? Your destination as an organization. Then you have organization strategies. The strategies are the roadmap to your organizational goals, right? And then we have now these goals, these organization goals will be subdivided into functional goals. They will be subdivided into functional goals, of course, according to functional goals, where we see according to departments, for example, according so they could be in terms of finance strategies, marketing strategy, or operations strategy. And all these strategies, right? All these strategies, they have tactics. Tactics are the actions. What actions are you going to take? For example, if you're doing a marketing strategy, it could be that maybe you're going to advertise, right? That is an action. You're going to advertise. You're going maybe to reduce the prices. That is a tactic, an action. Then all these ones, they have operating procedures. All the tactics have the operating procedures, right? So the operating procedures are, how are you going to do it? How are you, if it's an advertisement, how are you going to, what are you going to include in that advertisement, for example? So we have an example here where for example, an example here. Rita is a high school student. She would like to have a career in business, yeah? She would have to have a career in business. She would like to have a good job and earn enough income to live comfortably. So this is a scenario that could help us know what a mission, what a goal, what a strategy, what a tactic is, right? So having read this short, is it a story or scenario, right? From here, we can know that Rita's mission is to live a good life. Are we together? Because we've already seen that a mission is the reason an organization exists. But this is not an organization. This is Rita. This is a human being, right? So Why is the Rita existing? She would want to live a good life. That is her mission. We are just taking an example. Then what is the goal? Destination. Her goal is to have a successful career and good income. That is her goal. What is the strategy? The strategy is the roadmap to your goal. Which strategy have you taken? Has she taken? She has to take a strategy of obtaining college education. So obtaining college education is a strategy she has to undertake that will help her achieve a goal of having a successful career and attain good income, right? And then what is her tactic? What is her tactic or the tactics that she's going to use? We've seen that tactics are actions, those actions that make your strategy work, right? So the tactics, Rita's tactics are to select a college or a university. She has to select a college and a major. In other words, when she selects that college or university, which kind of degree maybe is she going to study? Maybe she's going to study what? Business administration, yeah? Maybe Bachelor of Business Administration, because she wants to have a career in business. And then also she can decide on how to finance college education. So those are the tactics. And then what are her operations? The operations are she has to register, right? She has to register for education. She has to buy books. She has to take courses. She has to enter class and study like we are doing here. So those are the operations. So I guess maybe we are getting a rough idea about those concepts. All right, so these are the different strategies an organization might choose from. So let's look at some of the strategies that an organization may use. Some of the strategies that an organization may use to attain competitiveness. Low cost, we have already looked at. It might consider low cost. Low cost in terms of low cost source operation, yeah? For example, if it is a country in the developing world, it can outsource operations in the third world countries where there is low cost labor, right? Where there is low cost labor, that is a low cost strategy. There's also a scale-based strategy. Scale-based can be in terms of an organization using capital-intensive methods. By capital-intensive methods here, it's using machines, right? It is using machines in the production process. Of course, this one can be a competitive advantage over its rival firms in terms of producing, for example, producing high-quality products, producing huge volumes, right? Large amount of output in terms of the other rival farms that may not be using machines. Then also another competitive strategy could be specialization, right? So with the specialization, basically here, we look at that company focusing on the best activity where it has more skills, right? So with specialization, we look at an organization, for example, employing workers that have specific skills for every I should say maybe department, yeah. So you make sure that every worker has the required or appropriate skills, yeah. Everyone is specializing in what they can do best or where they are better qualified. So that one helps in improving quality. And of course, quality is one way that can create competitive advantage over your rival firm. Another strategy can be newness. Newness in terms of coming up with new products in relation to your competitors, in terms of product innovation or creating innovation is you're improving, yeah, and then coming up with the new products, yeah, in respect, of course, in comparison with the other rival firms or your competitors. Then another strategy could be in terms of flexible operation. Flexible operation, this can be in terms of, for example, quick response. It could be quick response to customers. For example, we've already seen that this is under operations, how operations affect competitiveness. It could be in terms of lead time, right? From the time a customer orders for a product and when you do deliver that product. Of course, the shorter the better, the longer the worse it is for you as an organization. And then it could be flexibility in terms of quick response to customers, right? How fast do you respond to your customer complaints? Of course, the faster the better, the longer the worse, right? For you as an organization. Another strategy, competitive strategy, could be in terms of quality. High quality, of course, in relation to your competitors, that one will be a competitive advantage. Could be in terms of service. We've looked at this in terms of operations. With service, for example, we looked at customer care, right? As in being polite to your customers, right? Are you rude to your customers? That one is not, that one will, for example, will disqualify you in comparison to your competitors. How do you, are you rude to your customers? Number one. So after, we've also looked at after service, yeah? After service, how do you, after you've sold the product, it could be a machine, and maybe this customer wants to come back and repair it. You could find that for you, you are repairing it free of charge, and yet your competitors are charging this customer. So this one will give you a competitive edge over your competitors or rival firms. Another competitive strategy can be in terms of sustainability. So sustainability can be, when you talk about sustainability, we are talking about how an organization, for example, how it relates with the society and environment. Focus on society. For example, corporate social responsibility, and then also to the environment. Are the operations that it's doing, the kind of work that it's doing, is it affecting the environment, right? So if it's not affecting the environment, maybe it's not a polluting farm. A polluting farm is where maybe it's a factory, it's emitting greenhouse gas emissions like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and so on. That one is it's not environmental friendly. But if it's environmental friendly, then it's going to give it a competitive edge over other rival farms that may be involved in the production processes that are, for example, that involve pollution to the environment. So that's what we mean by sustainability. So that one also can provide a competitive edge. So let's look at strategy formulation. So it's very important, much as we've looked at all these competitive strategies, it is very important to identify, for organizations to identify which strategy will be able to work for them in a relation or in comparison to the other rival firms. So let's look at, in formulating a successful strategy, organizations must take into account both order qualifiers and order winners. So let's look at the meaning of order qualifiers and order winners, right? So order qualifiers are those, what the customers would look at, I don't want to call them customers, or what the individuals, right, will look at as the minimum standards that they really look at that they really look at the kind of product you're offering as an organization and be able to accept it and be able to take it on, to accept it as a product. That is an order qualifier. For example, you could find that your product is of good quality. Are we together? Your product is of good quality. That can be an order qualifier. So if it's a good at good quality and this prospective customer is looking at it, it makes your product to qualify. It makes this customer to recognize your product and be able to accept it. I hope we've got that. Then order winner are those characteristics that at the end of the day make this prospective customer to finally choose and buy or purchase your product in comparison to other similar products of your competitors. Order winner is what makes, if for example you are two farms that there are two organizations and you are producing the same products, yeah, what makes a customer to choose and buy your product and leave out the other same product from another rival farm is what we call an order winner. Are we together? So some qualities can be can actually be order qualifiers, and at the same time, and others can be order winners. They can work interchangeably, right? For example, price can be an order winner, whereby the customer will look at the price and be able to buy your product, maybe because the price was lower than your competitors. And then the order qualifier could be in terms of maybe quality. You have a higher quality product compared to the rival farms. So this could interchangeably and could work interchangeably, yeah, depending of course on what the customer has considered. So while formulating strategy, it is also important to do what we call environmental scanning. This is practically monitoring these events and trends that present either threats or opportunities in an organization. And with environmental scanning, we use a technique here that is called the SWOT analysis, or the SWOT approach, which is an acronym of strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. In environmental scanning, we use an approach called the SWOT approach, or the SWOT analysis, which is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Right? So the strengths and weaknesses are the internal factors. The strengths and weaknesses are the internal factors, and the opportunities and threats are the external factors. So we shall be looking at what the internal factors and the external factors are. So in formulating strategy, we must use that SWOT analysis, or the SWOT approach, which basically helps us, or helps organizations to scan the internal factors, yeah, the internal factors and the external factors. Of course, the internal factors are those factors that are happening within the organization, whereas the external and the internal factors are those factors that the organization has control over. But the external factors are those factors that the organization does not have control, over. So let's look at the external factors. Remember, we've seen that under that acronym, that approach of the SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, the strengths and weaknesses stand for the internal factors. The opportunities and threats stand for the external factors. So let's look at the external factors, which are practically out of control, that the organization does not have control over. And these are the economic conditions, right? So when an organization is formulating strategy, it has to look at the economic conditions, which is under external factors. These economic conditions could be in terms of the inflation rates. Are the inflation rates high? When we talk about inflation, we are talking about the persistent increase in the general price levels. How about the deflation? Deflation is low prices in the low prices in an economy. Look at the interest rates. Could be interest rates in terms, or maybe on loans. It should look at the tax laws, right? Is the government imposing high taxes? Yeah, of course, if it's imposing high taxes, they will have a negative impression. I mean, they will have a negative implication on the prices. So even before you say that you want to reduce the prices, to use it as low prices as a competitive strategy, you have to look at the level of inflation. You have to look at the tax laws. If it's international trade, maybe you want to trade globally. You also have to look at the tariffs, the tariff rates. So all these ones have to be looked at under economic condition, political condition. So political condition is also a factor, an external factor that an organization does not have control over. So of course, political stability has a favorable, political stability favors business, right? And that's why we saw that the external factors are those, the opportunities and threats are those external factors, right? The opportunities and threats. So for example, if the political environment is good, that is an opportunity for this business to actually, for this organization to venture in business, right? So of course, the political instability affects business negatively. So there is no way these strategies will work. All these strategies will work for this organization when the political environment is not okay. There are wars, people are running left, right, and center, gunshots all over the place, right? Then legal environment, these are external factors. Legal environment, here we are looking at the laws, right? We are looking at, for example, the antitrust laws. The antitrust laws are laws against monopoly, right? Against imperfect market structures like monopoly, like oligopoly, of course, that are aimed at encouraging competition and bringing about efficiency in the market, right? So these antitrust laws are laws actually that work against monopoly, that work against formation of cartels, against formation of mergers, and they literally encourage, they are aimed at encouraging competition in the market to reduce output and to reduce prices and increase output, and at the end of the day to bring about efficiency, to bring about allocative efficiency in the market. So also under legal environment, organizations should look at government regulations. Of course, government regulations have a lot to do with determining the success of any business. Even before you formulate those so-called strategies of yours as an organization, government regulation is important in determining the success of whatever you are doing as a business. Minimum wage laws, right? So the minimum wage laws, of course, at the end of the day, if depending on the minimum wage law, of course, here it's not there. We tried to enforce it, but I don't think it has worked out. But it happens in the developed world, right? So depending on what kind of minimum wage law the government is setting, this will have a lot to do with it. For example, will have a lot to do with the, for example, determining the prices. So you will not be able to determine the strategy to use, whether a pricing strategy, when you do not know the minimum wage law, right? Laws to do with product liability laws, right? In terms of, for example, product liability, this one could be, for example, if a customer bought a product and they realize that it has a defect, yeah, it has an error, it has a defect, or it has an error with it. If they are to bring it back, right, and you do not accept, they can sue you. They can, they can sue you. So those are those laws. So labor laws, the way you treat your workers, right? Patents, yeah. Patent rights are those rights that are given to monopolists to produce their products or services, and the other firms or other producers should not be able to produce that same product apart from that person, apart from that monopolist. They are granted by the government. So technology also change, of course, changing technology, right? Also is an external factor that organizations have to look at. Of course, if technological changes, the organization doesn't have control over that. All right, then competition, right? Competition, of course, from your rival firms. Competition could be in terms of quality, could be in terms of product features, in terms of barriers to entry. So all those ones, the organization doesn't have control over them. So of course, the competition will have a lot to do with the kind of strategy you are taking. If, for example, your rival firm are advertising, you also advertise, because that is what, if they advertise, you also be required to advertise. If you don't advertise, that one will be a competitive strategy over you, that they will have over you. Then the markets, of course, with the markets here, we are looking at the location, in terms of location, in terms of ease of entry, barriers to entry. We are looking at the demographics, right? The age and sex, right, of these people, the kind of people that are demanding for your products, and so on. So those were external factors. Then the internal factors, remember, we are looking at environmental scanning, right? We are looking at environmental scanning, where we are looking at internal factors, and where we are also looking at, organizations are also looking at external factors to be able to formulate their strategies. So we've already looked at the external factors, and we are looking at now the internal factors. Internal factors are those that are those activities, right? Or those functions or that do happen within the organization, right? So these ones are human resources, of course, that help organizations to have a competitive advantage or competitiveness, or what you call a competitive edge over the rival firms or other competing firms. So the human resources, right? We've seen that one reason why these companies fail is because they fail to take into account, they fail to respect human resources, they fail to invest in human capital, right? So if they are not respecting their workers, they are not providing capacity, the capacity building, right, for their training and development, basically for their workers, then at the end of the day, just assume that at the end of the day, of course, if you have skilled workers, it has a correlation with the product, with the quality of the product, isn't it? Than when you're using half-baked, maybe I should say people that have semi-skilled workers, right? So of course, if they have the required skills, they will produce at the end of the day, during the production process, they'll be able to come up with the final product that are of good quality. So organizations should be able to look at their human resources and be able to develop their talent, their special talent, to be able to retain them, to use them to be able to come to solve problems. Then facilities and equipment, right? We are looking at internal factors. So facilities here, we are looking at the location, for example, of this organization. We've already seen that location is important in determining competitiveness of any organization in comparison with its rival firms or with its competitors, right? And equipment, we've seen that also that if, for example, if one organization is using machinery and the other is not using machines, of course, that one will be a competitive advantage, a competitive edge over the rival firms. Then financial resources. This is within, remember, these are internal factors that happen within an organization. Financial resources here, we are looking at the cash flow, right? The debt burden. For example, if a firm is having debts, what do you expect at the end of the day in comparison with its rival firms that do not have debts? So of course, that one will be a competitive advantage if the rival firms, if, for example, this firm is better than the other rival firms that have debts, right? So that one. Then customers, yeah, customer relationship. We've already looked at the way we treat our customers. If you are rude to customers, don't expect much, right? Don't expect, don't over expect, yeah? So if you are rude to customers, but your competitors are polite, they are polite, they respect their customers are king, eh? Then at the end of the day, they might outcompete you just because of that, just customer care, right? Then product and services. Here we are looking at the capacity, the ability of a firm to be able, for example, to come up with the new products, to come up with new products or improve its products. Of course, at the end of the day, this will make it will give it a competitive edge over its competitors or rival firms. Technology, of course, with technological skills, yeah, these ones can make any firm to outcompete its rival firms that may find it costly to adjust to new technological skills. It can actually even be a barrier to entry, yeah, technological skills. It can be a barrier to entry in the by other firms that want to enter the industry. Then suppliers, right? So supplier relationship is also important. The way firms work, are they building long-term relationships with their suppliers? That is very key, right? So good relationships with your suppliers might give you a competitive advantage over the other rival firms or your competitors. Then other factors, of course, that internal factors that make any organization to have competitive advantage could be patents. We've looked at patents. It could be product image or company image. Even the image of the company has a lot. Some people just buy the brand. Someone will say, if I'm buying a phone, it has to be this brand. So people are buying brands instead of the phones, right? They will just look at the brand and say, if it's not Nokia, I will not buy. If it's not Toshiba, I will not buy. Are we together? So brand also is an internal factor that provides competitive advantage over your rival firms. So after assessing internal and external factors, these questions should be asked. Having assessed the internal and external factors, an organization should be able to ask and answer these questions. And these are, what role, if any, will the internet play? So internet has a lot to do with, of course, providing competitive advantage over your rival firms. Will the organization have global presence, globalization, right? If you're working internationally, you're selling, you're exporting when your rival farms are not. You're literally having a bigger market share, a bigger market, yeah. You're capturing a bigger market than them. To what extent will outsourcing be used? We looked at outsourcing. So it might be cheaper for you to outsource than to actually do the work internally, or what you call insourcing. So at the end of the day, if the cost of production, remember we've looked at low cost, yeah, strategy. One of the strategies that companies use is low cost strategy. So if it is, it costs you less, right? Or if it's cheaper for you to outsource than to insource, to do the work yourself internally, then you will have, of course, in comparison, if it's cheaper for you to outsource in comparison with your rival farms that are doing the work themselves, then it will be a competitive advantage, competitive edge over them. And then what will the supply chain strategy be? Of course, at the end of the day, we looked at supply chain, where we saw that supply chain involves dealing with suppliers, the internal processes that we looked at, the distribution and the customers. So all that, how you deal with your customers, how you deal with your suppliers, how you deal with your internal processes, the operations, right? All those ones, they will have a lot to do with determining your competitiveness in comparison to the rival farms. To what extent will new products or service be introduced? Of course, we've seen that with technology where new products can be invented, where you can come up with new products or improve the already existing products, it can provide a competitive edge over the rival farms. What rate of growth is desirable and sustainable? Remember, we looked at sustainability, where we've seen that sustainability can be in form of social, in form of, corporate responsibility, and in form of environmental, environmental sustainability, yeah, whereby is your business not, is it environmental friendly in comparison to your rival farms that maybe may be doing activities or production processes that are depleting, that are harmful to the environment. There could be maybe manufacturing farms that are polluting, and for you, yours is not polluting. So that could be a competitive advantage over them. And then what emphasis, if any, should be placed on lean operation? What emphasis? So lean operation also is important, right? Because remember, in our very first classes, we looked at lean operation, right? And I don't know if you've been reading your notes, but lean operation in simplicity, we saw that it involves reducing costs, yeah, reducing costs and using the least possible cost, and of course maximizing outputs. And then we saw that lean operation, for it to be successful, it has three basic considerations that it should consider. Elimination of waste, removal of variability, and improvement of throughput. And where we saw that the just-in-time techniques are a subset of the lean operation. I hope you remember. If you have not been reading, you better go back and revise that. Then how will the organization differentiate its products or services from competitors? Remember, in our very first three strategies that we looked at, which organizations use as their competitive strategy, we looked at low cost strategy, we looked at responsiveness, and we looked at product differentiation. So being able to differentiate your products, of course, in a good way from your competitors, will give you a competitive competitive advantage over them. So let's look at supply chain strategy. Of course, here you have to ensure that you are managing the supply chain in a good way. Supply chain, remember, just for a recap, we are looking at all those activities that involve conversion of the raw material or input to the final product, but also enable organizations to match demand with supply, right? So the supply chain here, we are looking at suppliers, we are looking at internal processes of the organization, we are looking at the distributors, we are looking at the customers, finally, the final end user, who is the customer. That is supply chain strategy. That one has to be handled well if you want to have a competitive edge over the rival firms. Sustainability strategy, we've already looked at that, and we've seen that sustainability can be in form of environmental sustainability or society, or what farms, the effect of farms on the environment or on society, right? Corporate social responsibility, right? So that one gives them a competitive edge. Corporate social responsibility, here we look at farms giving back to the community, right? Giving back to the community, constructing, maybe they may construct schools. Some companies do it here. They may construct schools, they may construct maybe pit latrines. They may do a number of things, but just giving free of charge, giving back to the community. So that one gives them a competitive edge. Of course, now they will be looking for, they will be looking for more, they will get more clients, yeah, compared to their rival firms that will not be doing. So global strategy, we've already looked at this, where before, when a firm, when an organization or a company is formulating its strategy, when it wants to actually have a competitive edge, of course, it has to look at, when it's looking at, for example, it has to, when it's looking at the global strategy here, it's looking at things to do with political threats, right? Political threat maybe in other countries, right? So if you want to carry out international trade, yeah, but with another country, you have to look at how politically stable that country is before you even go ahead. Right? So of course, if that country is politically stable and you're carrying out international trade with it, the better for you. Operation strategy, we've already looked at that. That with operation, practically, we are looking at all these internal functions in terms of quality, in terms of lead time, scheduling, in terms of the processes, right? Product processes, all that are happening within an organization. Of course, at the end of the day, if they are done, they are managed well in comparison to your competitors, you will have a competitive edge over them. Quality and time strategy, of course, quality, I believe it's obvious, right? So of course, if you have better quality products in a comparison to your competitors, that is a competitive edge. That is a competitive edge over them. Of course, time strategy here, time strategy can be in a number of ways. Time strategy in terms of the lead time, the response, how long it takes for you to respond to the complaints of your customers, how long it takes for you from the time a customer makes an order and the time when that order is delivered. Of course, the faster, the better. The faster compared to your competitors, the more it gives you a competitive edge over them. It could be time in terms of flexibility to changes in customer demand, right? Could be time strategy in terms of flexibility, in terms of being able to adjust quickly to changing technologies in comparison with your rival firms. So organizations have achieved time reduction in the following. So Time reduction can be in terms of planning time. Yeah. So if they plan in terms of their adjustment to adopt a new technology, they are managing their time. That is a time strategy. So if they are the time strategy can be in terms of product service design. Of course, the shorter the production the shorter it takes to design a new product, the better, of course, in comparison to your rival firms. Processing time, right? So processing time is how is the production process? The shorter, of course, the production process and it is believed that that the shorter the time, the more the costs are reduced. Processing time, how short is the production process? Of course, the shorter the better in terms or in comparison to your rival firms or to your competitors. The time strategy can be in terms of being able to adjust, for example, to using new equipment in comparison to your, and using different methods in comparison to your competitors. The delivery time, that is the lead time, right? Of course, the shorter the better in comparison to your competitors, right? Then response time for clients, we've already looked at that. Of course, the shorter it is for you to respond to your clients, to respond to the complaints of your clients in a comparison to your competitors, the better for them. So there is a top-down management system that helps to transform strategy into action, and this is the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard. So the balanced scorecard helps organizations to clarify their vision and strategy and try to transform them into action. So I don't know if this is visible enough, but the balanced scorecard is that framework that shows here the vision and the vision and strategy of an organization. It helps them it helps this organization to transform their vision and strategy into action. And here it has four basic elements. It has four basic elements. Number one, it looks at the financial aspect, where the organization should ask itself that if we are to succeed, how should we appear to our shareholders? So the organization should work towards satisfying their shareholders' objective, right? In terms of the finances. Also here, customer, right? So they should also consider their customers. They should give priority to their customers, right? In that way, they will be able to transform their vision and strategy into action. Also, they have to look at internal business processes. Remember, we've looked at the internal business processes. Well, we've looked at the operations. We've looked at the layout. We've looked at the layout. We've looked at the equipment. We've looked at the manpower, the skills, the human resource skills. All those are the internal processes. And then the organization should be able to learn and grow, right? Learning should be continuous, should be continuous for this organization. So that is how the balanced scorecard helps organization to transform their vision and strategy into action by looking at four basic elements: customer, financial aspect, the internal processes, and being able to learn continually and to grow. So let's look at productivity. Productivity measure, when we talk about productivity, we are looking at the ratio between an organization's output and input. So productivity mathematically is output, total output divided by total input, whereby the output will look at the final goods and services, and the input we are looking at what the organization uses in the production process. So the input could be the labor, the raw material, the energy, right? And the other resources that are used as in the production process. And what comes out as a final product is the output, right? So this productivity is important in the way that it helps businesses, organizations to determine scheduling. It helps them to determine the manpower requirement, right? So productivity growth will be given by current productivity minus previous productivity divided by previous productivity times 100. So what are the factors that affect productivity? These are capital, right? Capital affects productivity, the quality, right? The quality of the product, and the technology and management. Those ones affect productivity, but there are other factors that do affect productivity, like standardizing. Standardizing is being able to come up with uniform products, yeah? Being able to come up with uniform products. Then quality differences also affect productivity. Then use of the internet. Of course, internet, there is a way it simplifies work, it eases business, so it helps to increase productivity. Then computer viruses, those ones, if they attack your system, your computer systems, you're bound to lose a lot of information, right? And of course, lose out on affecting productivity. Of course, this can be in form of the service industry, yeah, where maybe it's a bank and most of your information is on computers. If these computer viruses affect the system, you're going to lose all the information, and at the end of the day, you'll be able to lose the productivity, right? Then, of course, to make losses. Then scrap rates involve, we mean here, products with errors, products with defects. So if the more the company produces defective products, products that have errors with them, the more it will make losses. And of course, this will reduce on the amount of output produced, which literally reduces productivity. New workers, of course, if someone is new, most of them, they are not really they do not really have the required skills, the required experience. They are not well oriented and versed with an organization, so they will not have that experience. So at the end of the day, it leads to low productivity. Safety, this one, if safety is not addressed, safety can be in terms of if you're addressing safety, you're addressing the probability of occurrence of accidents while at work, right? So for example, if it is in a factory, you can ensure that the workers are they are well dressed in those garments which will protect them from maybe the heat, will protect them. Maybe they are dressed in gumboots, they are dressed in overalls to protect those chemicals maybe from entering them. Maybe they are put on masks to affect all those maybe poisonous chemicals that may be coming out of the production process. So if those are not done, of course, at the end of the day, if their health is affected, the productivity will be affected as well. If there is shortage of information, right? Of course, if you're not using technology, you're not using internet, you're bound to lack information, which will in the long run affect productivity. Of course, we've seen that some companies fail because of poor communication, right? Lack of information, right? Shortage of information. Layoffs, if you lay off some workers, of course, Laying off a worker may mean that you are losing out on a particular skill that person may have had, maybe it was contributing to increase in productivity, and at the end of the day you are laying off that person. You may lose out, right? And of course lose out on productivity too. Labor turnover, here we are looking at the rate at which workers leave the organization. If they are resigning every day, then that is not good. You lose out on productivity. Design of the workspace, right? So you may find out that, for example, the working environment, it has a lot of tools, equipment to be used, right? So that one will help increase in productivity. All right, then other factors that affect still productivity, education level and training, right? We saw, of course, investing in human capital. The more you educate and train your workers, the way you improve their health. Maybe you're providing them with health insurance, right? Maybe you're taking safety measures at work for them. That one will increase productivity. Of course, an unhealthy worker will not work the way you require them to work, and at the end of the day, the productivity will be low. So how do companies develop productivity? How do they improve productivity? By developing production measures. They must have, first of all, know the amount. They must have all first of all be able to measure productivity, to be able to measure the output in relation to the input. They must look at the system as a whole in deciding which operation is most critical, right? So of course they have to evaluate and look at the kind of work that they are doing, and such that they will know what they can do best to increase productivity. And they should also set up the goals to be able to improve the productivity, right? They should be able to identify where the gap is, right? Where the challenge is. If it is about quality, identify what is affecting the quality negatively. Is it because the workers are less skilled? Then you should be able, then there it means you have to work on training them and availing them with the relevant skills. Make it clear that management supports and encourages productivity improvement. Of course, for example, it could be in terms of rewarding workers, in terms of availing them with the necessary training and skills. That is management support. Of course, at the end of the day, increasing productivity, and then measure improvement and publicize them. So if you measuring improvement is being able to know that what was there before, what was the productivity before, and what was the productivity after, what is that difference, and be able to publicize it, make it known, right? All right, so that marks the end of our session.